New EJ loves the internet, the 9th edition of this show. How you guys doing? I'm your host, Ernest EJ Christian, as we react to things that I saw, read, or even watched on the internet this week. Let's not waste too much time here because I'm kind of on a short on a time crunch here because I'm going out with my kids. By the way, before I get started, I don't know if I got pink eye or something, but in the last 5 days, my eyes have been itching both my eyes been itching to the point where it gets over watery and I'm all dried out around the edges. It is so freaking annoying, dude. It really is. And so I don't know if it's pink eye or not. My buddy told me it might be pink eye. I don't think it's pink eye because I don't have any I don't show any signs of that. But it's just dried out and stuff. It's so annoying, bro. It really is, man. Just take care of yourselves, guys, as always. We're recording this, of course, on Tuesday morning, around 9 o'clock in the morning on June 16, 2026. I got to go take my kids to go to the water park. We have plans to meet with a bunch of friends at about 11 noonish, if you will. So when I get this in for the Thursday edition of the Earnestly podcast. So let's get started to the first video. And this is Donald Trump. If you remember, at Game 3 NBA Finals, Donald Trump was there. He attended the game. And but apparently him and Stephen A. Smith have been getting into it now. So here's Donald Trump's reaction to his print of the game and him and Stephen A. Smith.
Mostly cheers. It was loud and it was very enthusiastic.
Mr. President, ESPN commentator Stephen A. Smith, who was talking about running for president, said he would blame you if the Knicks lost the game. How do you respond to that?
I think he's a nice guy, but you need a certain aptitude to run for president. You need a high IQ. I'm not sure that Stephen has that. I don't think he does, actually.
Oh, God. So he calls him a nice guy, but then calls him typical Trump. It's similar to what he did last week with the Meet the Press interview, where he insults the journalist, Welker, as a Christopher Welker, her name is, insults the journalist and calls it darling, and thank you. This is typical Trump, dude. Donald Trump. Wake the fuck up. You got booed to hell at the next game. It is what it is. You got booed. No big deal. Okay? So stop. Number 2, I may have a lot of issues with Stephen A. Smith. Stephen ain't an idiot. Stop. That you're just now reaching straws there because you didn't like what was being said, and you're pretty petty when it comes to being challenged by a certain thing. So Donald Trump doing his usual bullshit as he always does. So anyway, next video I'd react to. Here is actually a very popular Caribbean comedian, Maja Hype, recreating Family Feud. This is really funny.
Yes, Steve, there we go. You sure? Oh, boy, let me go now. Already. Okay, we serve around 100 people. Name a popular wine. Nani wine, don't soup. Okay, name something Trinidadians can't do without. People business. What lives in the hills and hard to catch? Men in love until. Name an instrument women hate. Horn. What is something traditional Trinidadian fathers do? Leave. I'll come back, I never come back. What number comes after 2? 3. That's incorrect. Oh, but 1, 2, 3. 3? Yeah, I know. 1, 2, 3.
3.
A good reason to take off work.
It's the way you
Carnival.
said it.
Okay.
What was the last one? What's the last one?
Good. A good reason to take off work. Carnival.
Yes.
Okay. Good there.
All right, so you guys know my background is I'm Trinidadian. My parents from Trinidad. I am the first American-born child in my family. I don't have like me personally, like much as I love Trinidad and in my culture, I don't have a lot of like when I say roots, that's the wrong word to use because they have a root obviously because that's determined by who is in your family, but I don't talk about that enough on the show, and I wish I did because I'm not around a lot of Trinis in the same way outside my family, of course, to where it's like they'll always talk about the culture. Growing up, that was the case. As I got older, I had a lot more wide variety of friends of different cultures and stuff. So it's kind of watered down my not my love of Trinidad because I love Trinidad, but it's watered down my impact of the country. But do know I still love my country very much so. I do. My goal is to want to take my kids there. Not now. I don't think they'll be able to take. I think Trinidad is so different than the United States in terms of like just the culture in general and how people live there. It's a lot more freeing and this and that. My kids wouldn't adapt to that well. I think as adults, they'll probably adapt better to that. So that's my goal to take my kids to Trinidad. Now, my wife has no interest in going whatsoever because I told her about how it is there, and she's like, nope, I'm good. To be fair, my wife is not passionate about visiting a lot of places. Okay, so let's also be clear about that as well. So that is Trinidad. All right, next video. Let's see what we got here on the list. I'm trying to go through this a little quick today because I got a lot going on. Oh, here's a video about how the music industry tried to replace Jackson 5 like back in the 70s.
The Jackson's 5 success with the Osmonds. Lock it. The Jackson 5 were the first pop teen boy band since Frankie Lyman and the Teenagers in the 50s. The first group to have their first 4 singles go #1 on the pop charts. They pioneered the boy band fan base and how to monetize them, headlining shows and earning up to $25,000 a night out the gate. The entire industry watched, calculated, MGM being the first to make an attack with their family barbershop quartet, the Osmonds. They went from this,
"Hi there, folks, how do you do? We're mighty glad to be here with you. A doodly-doo, a doodly-doo, a doodly-doo, how do you do?"
to sounding like this.
One bad apple don't spoil the whole bunch, girl. Oh, I don't care what they say, I don't care what you heard.
Sounds like Michael.
Joe Jackson was so angry over the Osmonds ripping off his sons, he cursed them, their Mormon religion, and Berry Gordy, who basically handed them their hit One Bad Apple, which was offered to his sons first. Meanwhile, the Osmonds' father was instructing producers to ensure that his son sounded like them. It was American Bandstand versus Soul Train. New Edition versus New Kids on the Block. A mirror with a clear distinction between who was the source and who was the reflection. The Jacksons sounded and dressed one way, the Osmonds followed. Jacksons had a cartoon series. A year later, here they came on the same channel. Michael had a song about loving a rat. Donnie sang about puppy love. They did everything but wear afros. But it all came to a head when Donnie, who was often pushed to sound and perform like Michael, got pushed so hard he spat up blood after a performance. That's when they knew the gig was up. The Osmonds were no match for the Jacksons. And by they, I mean the authorities, managers, executives. The Osmonds were just kids following orders, and they actually never had a beef, the two families. Michael and Donnie being the closest. They were the same age, both the 7th of 9 children. Their mom shared a birthday. And Donnie was the only person who actually understood Michael's childhood.
You and I are in the same boat, really, you know?
You mean because we both sing?
Yeah, well, that's the beginning of it, yeah.
Because we both sing with the group.
Well, you're on the right track.
Because we both sing with a group made up of our own brothers. That's it.
Well, almost. You're getting there.
Because we both sing with a group made up of our own brothers, most of them older and one younger.
Right.
That's it?
Right.
For everyone who completed this video, let your favorite storyteller know by commenting this emoji.
That's awesome. I mean, I knew a lot of the stuff in this video already, like some of the things about like Donnie and the comparisons between him and Michael, the 7th child, the same mom, well, I think except with the mom. But yeah, you know, I think the difference between the Dodgers and the Jacksons was the fact the Jacksons, they were driven by their father, who was literally not healthy, obviously, in the way he did his things, but the Osmonds were not going that far. And that, I remember that being a big thing. My mom told me that growing up. I mean, it's opposite happened in the early 70s, but you know, it's definitely something to think about how like a different world where like if the Osmonds ever got traction, if the Jacksons ever gotten as big as they got. But again, you can't deny talent. And of course, Just before you get to Michael breaking out and becoming the biggest star in history of music. So anyway, next video here. Here's Stephen A. Smith talking last week on the Michael Jordan LeBron debate. After LeBron made comments about, actually, you know what? Before we get there, let me actually get a little bit of a background on this. LeBron made a comment last week. I'm gonna show the image here real quick. About the GOAT debate. He said the following. He said, if there's a general manager and he's eyeballing all of us on the baseline with #1 pick, it's going to be hard not to take Meat Champ. He said this to Time Magazine last week. Of course, Stephen A., they got beef already as Stephen A. and LeBron got beef as it is. He reacts to LeBron's comments here, and here's what he had to say about all of that.
Big Perk is absolutely right in this regard. He's talking about they would say the same thing. No, they wouldn't. Michael Jordan would never tell you he's the GOAT. I know Michael Jordan. I speak to him often. I'm telling you, he has never, ever, ever once called himself the greatest. Ever. It has never happened. Kobe Bryant didn't call himself the greatest. Kareem didn't call himself the greatest. Magic didn't call himself the greatest. Bird didn't call himself the greatest. No, that's not true. That's not true. He could say they might have thought it, but they never articulated it to a reporter for print purposes to be disseminated to the masses. It is LeBron James, which brings us to LeBron James. Why would he do that? Because the man is addicted to trying to control the narrative.
He's not wrong there.
These are the reasons problems exist. And so many people who support him, they haven't seen the forest from the trees. They get caught up in that moment. He's saying something in that moment. You know why you can't get caught up in the moment with LeBron James? Because LeBron James ain't caught up in the moment. Everything he does is calculating. He knows exactly what he's doing. He plots and he plans, hoping to have a specific impact. I would know personally. I know what he does, okay? And I'm not even knocking it because he is on the Mount Rushmore of basketball. He's one of the greatest basketball players to have ever lived. I have said repeatedly, I have him number 2 all time. But Rich Paul put it best. Yo, Rich, you acting like that's a damn insult to call him number 2 all time.
By the way, I agree with Stephen A. Smith on that one.
That's how they feel.
Look, a second.
That's how they feel.
Yeah, I agree with Stephen A. on that angle. Thank you, buddy, for the water. Because again, first off, and this is the issue here, is that LeBron is saying this about himself, whereas Jordan, Bird, Magic, those guys, and never called himself that. People have impressed that on them, and that's a big difference. But I think it's also a generational thing too as well.
And they feel that way in large part. They think for themselves, but they feel that way in large part because they know that's how he feels. He is still around because when all is said and done, he wants to eclipse every record because he knows down the line, from a historical perspective, we ain't going to remember it took him 23, 24, 25 years to do what Jordan did in 13 or what Kareem did in 19 or 20 or something like that. All we going to look at is the numbers. All-time leading scorer, this, that. We're going to look at all of those different things, and we're going to say statistically he's the best. That is why he is still around, because he wants that narrative to be dictated. As I told you before, he's on the Mount Rushmore. He's one of the top 2 in the history in my game. But that's as far as it's getting. As long as I'm breathing and I'm on the airwaves, it will never be what he wants it to be. Period.
He's also there, Steve, to be fair, because he's still that fucking good. Like, if we're doing a top 20 list next year, there is no doubt LeBron James is still in the top 20 players in the league at 42 years old. That in itself is impressive in itself. Most people at this age are retired already. Okay? They're retired. No one's even thinking about staying and playing basketball. So, to be honest with you, while I agree that the narrative thing is real, I do agree with that part because, when the age of branding and people want you're relevant until you're not relevant. And once LeBron retires, I don't think LeBron will be as relevant. I mean, he'll be relevant in other ways, business-wise, whatever, but I don't think he'll be as relevant in terms of because of the era we're in. Whereas Michael Jordan's relevant, but Michael Jordan's not trying to be in the pictures and trying to be in the movies all the time. You know, his business creates the narrative for him now these days. His business, when he makes, you know, his shoes and everything else. And of course, nostalgia. LeBron, I think because of the era we live in, and everything's about the now and the now and the now, LeBron, and even now, LeBron, why he might be the face of the league, well, I think Wemby's changing that now. He's seeing that his relevance and the attention is now no longer where it was before. That's my line. And in this era, either you're relevant or you're not. And I think LeBron, being the age he is, unfortunately, he falls in the category of these young guys who are generational gap, unfortunately. But he's still in the league because he's still that damn good. Let's also be clear about that. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to knock his game. He's 41 years old, and still balling like a top 15 player in the league. That's also not, let's not cloud that either. Stephen A. or any other people who are criticizing LeBron for doing this. Yes, some of his passive aggressive bullshit is annoying. I fully agree with that. But at the same time, let's not knock this dude. This dude is still balling at a high level still. So speaking of LeBron and MJ, Dwayne Wade even weighed in on the debate. That's LeBron's best friend too, by the way. One of the best friends.
I come from a Jordan era. I am biased, and I'm going to be a bias to the day I pass away. Michael Jordan will be my GOAT.
I always loved you. I love you even more.
No, he would be my GOAT. But that doesn't mean I'm not taking anything away from LeBron. LeBron is amazing, but Michael Jordan is my GOAT. I play basketball because of Michael Jordan.
Yeah, but bro, y'all know how it is in the locker room. It's different. Like, y'all won championships together. And to me, this is the number one question I had, because I see you on TNT, and I see you tweeting Instagram. Anytime a conversation come up, you're like, he's my GOAT, MJ.
He's my GOAT.
But you got MJ, that's your teammate, that's your man. Y'all on the banana boat together. You know what I'm saying? So does that ever get awkward?
You got to be super cool to get on a banana boat with other grown men. You got to be really close. You got to be really close.
That doesn't get awkward where it's like, you know, you are publicly saying this is my GOAT, and everybody else in the world is talking about who's the GOAT.
Not for me. I think my thing is like, this is a real conversation, right? All of us have our own individual opinions. This has nothing to do with, like I said, once LeBron James is done playing this game of basketball, I'm definitely going to tell my grandkids, kids, that I played with one of the greatest to play the game of basketball. He will be the GOAT for a lot of generations. I started playing the game because of Michael Jordan. He will be my GOAT until the day I pass away. It doesn't take anything away from LeBron. This is just like LeBron. We started playing, we envisioned playing like Michael Jordan. So for me, from Chicago, where I grew up, I made it out the hood because I seen a dude, number 23, play the game of basketball at a level that I was like, I just want to do some of that.
That makes sense. The way what he explained, I think, too well, so is that whether or not you agree he's the GOAT or not, this and that, Jordan, LeBron, doesn't matter. He's going based on his own experiences growing up as a kid and what got him to play basketball in the first place. So because of that, he always leaned on Jordan because Jordan was his guy growing up. He was his guy. Like this is the reason he played basketball is because of Michael Jordan. So that's why. So the angle Dwayne Wade uses, and people are gonna say, "Oh, that's betrayal." You know, first off, I think I disagree with that. I think it's actually pretty honest stuff here. I think I actually respect the fact that Dwayne. Because he knows there'll be some blowback for this comment. Even though I know what he's saying, there'll be some blowback for what he said here. And I don't think he has a problem with that. I don't think he's wrong either. Now, for me, someone like me, who's a commentator who watched both guys at their peaks, both Jordan and LeBron, you know, I have Jordan number 1, LeBron number 2. But what I've always said is it's a little bit close people get credit for. But his perspective actually is actually the most healthiest one I think I've ever heard on this debate. So, and this is from someone who also is as far as I know, still one of LeBron's best friends. Okay, former teammate. They won 2 championships together, won the 4 finals. And he still is honest that, hey, listen, but Jordan was my guy. For some generations, like the generation that below me may look at LeBron's differently. That's fine. That's their right. You know. But anyway, next video here. Oh God, here's Dave LaGreca, wrestling commentator on the Danhausen evolution. This would be funny.
2026. Everybody knows who Danhausen is. They need to stick a banner of Danhausen Appreciation Night. Because if it wasn't for you, I'm sorry.
He's talking about Danhausen and the Knicks. So the Knicks, when they on the Trucks Championship, Danhausen went on, I think, First Take. And this is when the Knicks were down. I think went down 2-1 against the Hawks. and I guess he lifted the curse for 3 years because that's his whole gimmick in WB. And the Knicks went 15-1 right after that appearance on First Take. And by the way, Danhausen is a big Knicks fan for the record.
Don't say it. Don't say it.
No, you don't get it. You don't get it. You don't get it. Hold on. This ain't ESPN New York. You take a back seat to me on this show. They've had player after player after player. They've rigged drafts to make sure that the Knicks had the best player going into the season, and they couldn't win. And they couldn't for over 50 years. And Danhausen just walks in 2026, says you are uncursed, and all of a sudden they're winning playoff games. It's because of Danhausen. It's not because of their 3-point. It's not because of their 3-point shooting percentage.
Oh, come on,
It's
Dan.
not because of what they're doing at the foul line.
Not Jalen Brunson putting the team on his back.
Yeah, come on.
None of that shit.
None of it.
None of that shit.
You're like the guy that's like, I got to stand in the corner because they scored a goal when I was standing in the corner, so I got to stay. I control the world. I can do everything. Stop it. He has nothing to do with it. He's like a good kid. Have fun. He's jumped on a bandwagon. He has nothing to do with it.
He didn't jump on the bandwagon. He built the bandwagon. He created the bandwagon.
This is the stuff that aggravates me. You can't just have a little fun with it.
No, accept it.
Will you go to the ceremony to present the key to the city to Danhausen?
No. I'd stick it in his ass.
Oh!
Wow, after everything he's done for the city of New York?
This is how they treat you.
So disrespectful.
Don't be a hero. Don't meet your heroes, I guess.
Obviously, this is the bit by LaGreca. LaGreca does this shit all the time. He's now sports. Now with the his break busted open, going even more relevant on Sirius XM radio, and he's gotten more sports takey in the wrestling realm. And God bless him. He's for what he does, he's really good. But it's a bit. It's a bit. We know it's a bit. Like, come on. We know the real reason why the Knicks won is because of the fact that they put the work in. Jalen Brunson played ball. OG Anunoby played ball. Come on. But it is a cool it's a cool story, and it's a fun story. And as someone who loves Danhausen for the record, I think it's quite awesome, honestly. So anyway, next video here we have Alonzo Mourning talking about Shaq. The reason one time when Shaq wanted to leave the game for some reason.
We ain't Golden State, all right? Now I can tell y'all this shit now, all right? But this is real, okay? Golden State on the bus after shoot around, he taps me on the shoulder again. I'm gonna pick up 2 quick ones.
But I think it's the 2006 team talking together because I see Shaq, I see Alonzo Mourning, obviously, I see UD, Donald Haslam. Is that Dwayne?
I ain't got
That's Dwayne, yep. Gary Payton, and there's look at Antoine Walker. Wow, he's gaining so much weight, bro. Oh my God, Antoine.
Tonight. You're gonna play a lot, so I'm just letting you know I'm gonna pick up 2 quick ones. That's all we.
All right, so apparently Shaq had the shits, if you will. So he told Zoe, who's a backup center at the time, that listen, I'm gonna pick up 2 fouls. I gotta leave the game and go take care of business in the bathroom. That's pretty much what this comes down to.
Hey, communication, good shit, leadership.
Let's communicate.
Hey, man.
He prepared me for this.
About 45 on the clock, he's sitting over there like this. Look at D-Wade, a steak. I said, no, you ain't with us tonight.
That's funny.
Oh.
That's funny. Shaq taking a shit. Shaq has, dude. I mean, Shaq does have a podcast. I mean, like I said, I've always been a hot and cold Shaq though, but Shaq's the one-time great though, without question. That 06 team, we discussed it actually on the show. Who was it with? I talked to with Josh Jacobs on the episode we did on the week, and he says that the 2006 Heat is actually probably the worst finals team ever that won a championship, and I have a hard time not agreeing with him because I've seen other teams and certainly the last 20, 30 years, I've always said the 05 team was better than the 06 team. The 06 team has got hot at the right time. I would argue the referees did lean a little bit Miami's way with Dwayne Wade getting every call. Look, I'm not complaining about it because as a diehard Heat fan, I benefit off of that. But I'm also going to be fair and call a spade a spade. You know what I'm saying? But I don't think it's a bad take, actually, to be honest with you. I have to really think about that one day. I'm really going to think about it one day. So, anyway, Next video here. That's Isiah Thomas, my top 3 player of all time, personal favorite of all time, calling out LeBron haters.
Jealousy, envy.
I'm like, not top 5. Give me a break.
No. On the real, y'all know I don't mess around, right? I'm calling it out. Guys are jealous. They get envious. Y'all bring them on the show, then they want to talk about, what they did or what somebody else, and then they intentionally ignore the obvious, right? And when you intentionally ignore the obvious, then it has to come back to some jealousy or envy or just some straight up BS. Now, this man got every basketball record on the books, and he ain't in your top 5. You full of shit.
Totally agree.
Oh, he's
totally
he's
1,000%
correct there. Like, you want to argue like LeBron's not better than Jordan? Have that debate. I'm okay with that. But if LeBron James ain't in your top 5, you don't have a fucking clue about basketball. Just stop talking about basketball. Go away. Find another hobby. Okay. LeBron James owns almost every record in the book right now. Obviously. Okay. Longevity matters. He has 4 rings. Okay. I get the annoyance of LeBron and the narrative controlling and all this stuff. And I'm not saying I disagree with you, but you can't have a intelligent conversation about basketball and not have LeBron James at least in your top 5. I'm not even saying put Maher Jordan. I'm just saying not in top 5. At that point, just don't talk to basketball. Go away somewhere. Skip Bayless has what, number 9 or number 8 on his list? Get the fuck out of here. What are you talking about, bro? You have no clue, okay? You're a literal hater. Literal hater. You made a career of being a hater. Stop it, okay? Anyway, back to Shaq, actually. Shaq, here's a video of Shaq holding himself accountable for his failed marriage.
Something that went very viral with your ex-wife, and she had said something along the lines of she didn't think that she ever really loved you.
And my response was, I wouldn't have loved me either.
Yeah.
It just showed me that I was failing. A man has 3 jobs with a woman: protect, provide, and love.
Yeah.
And at that point in my life, I failed her in all 3 areas.
Really?
So I understood it. It's not a, people, shit. I understood it. I was an asshole. I was an idiot. So it just made me feel like, as a man, you didn't do the right thing. And the circumstance was I lost mostly everything. And you have to learn from that. So I am the type that when I hear criticism or hear anything, before I emotionally react, you have to see if there's some truth in it. I wouldn't have loved me either.
Yeah.
So I understood it. Like a lot of people try to, we did that. She was 1,000% correct. I failed her as a husband, as a protector, as a provider. And when you do dumb things happen. So I wasn't upset. I don't get upset because I'm a realist. Like, I'm not sensitive. You can't hurt my feelings. But when things come out, I'm able to stop time and be like, not right, rather than, because see what they want, whoever they is, they want a black man fighting a beautiful black woman, going back and forth. I don't do that. Never gonna do it. Shaq, you ain't motherfucker. Okay. Shaq, okay. I'm not gonna be like they wanted to be. Well, you never gonna happen. Because now that I'm in a good space, you have to protect. Always protect her. She's not my wife, but gave me 5 beautiful children. Will always protect her, even still. So you're right. I was an asshole, and which I really was, and that's why I responded very quickly. I wouldn't have loved me either. And people understood that because what they wanted was all of the shit that's going on now, which is entertaining because I like gossip. I love it. I love waking up looking at other people's problems. It's funny. Now, he did it. So
you'd be like, wow.
Yeah. So when I'm in it, you can't complain.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I understood.
I love the transparency there. I remember doing an episode, maybe 2 years ago, 3 years ago, where because she wrote a book, his ex-wife wrote a book, Shawnee O'Neal, by the way, wrote a book and called out a lot of shit about Shaq, about their marriage and stuff. And at the time, I was critical of it, only because I did not think it was healthy to put his shit on Jump Street like that. I'm not a fan of that stuff. Now, unless Shaq okayed it, I was not a fan of that. But having said that, on the Shaq angle, I love the fact that he's so accountable for the things he didn't do and self-aware, because we as men sometimes don't do that. We're all in this like whole thing about, oh, we're men and blah blah blah. We have to do this, but there's a lot of things that go into being a real man too. Being provider, he mentioned being provider, being protector, all this stuff. That's important too, also, and not just protecting them as physically, but also emotionally too, also, which is something that even myself, I had to, learn that with my current wife, my only wife, hopefully, rest of my life. But at least with my wife, she at least calls me out on it, and I at least get the opportunity to fix those problems. You know what I'm saying? We as men, we have a responsibility as men to provide, to protect in many ways, and to be there. So Shaq, at least, I love. Like I said, I've always had a lot of Christmas with Shaq through the years. But one thing about Shaq, I will give him this, and especially here in this situation, is that the fact that he's very self-aware, very, very, very self-aware, and a lot of men could go a long way by if they were just that self-aware about things they might be doing wrong. I'm not saying they're always wrong, but things they might be doing wrong. You know what I'm saying? So kudos to my boy Shaq there on that one. All right. Next video here is my boy Matthew Allen, a regular of this podcast, clearing the air about a potential Michael Jackson Thrill tour. Back in 84, of course.
Good evening, friends. Matthew Allen here. Ever since the Michael Jackson biopic dropped back in April, there's been tons of dialogue and discourse about Michael and his career all over social media. And while most of it is overwhelmingly positive, there is one particular issue that people keep bringing up that I feel I need to address to clear up some confusion. That issue is the fact that people seem to think that Michael Jackson wanted to do a solo tour for his Thriller album and was ousted and pressured into doing another Jackson's tour with his brothers to promote their Victory album instead. While Michael Jackson was indeed pressured into doing the Victory tour with his brothers reluctantly, and did perform that tour for 55 dates in the summer into the winter of 1984, he himself has never been on record to saying that he wanted to do a Thriller tour. In fact, Michael has been on record saying that he wanted to stop touring well before Thriller even was recorded.
Yep.
So let me just break a few things down for you guys right now. Now, this little nugget actually was dropped by John Branca back in 2023 when the Thriller 40 documentary directed by Nelson George came out on Showtime. In both the trailer and in the documentary at large, John Branca is heard saying in an interview that Michael wanted to tour Thriller, but Joe Jackson, his father, ex-manager, had other plans. Yes, I know that Branca, who is Michael's former lawyer and current executive of the estate, you would think that, oh, well, he was there, you weren't there, how would you know? The reason I'm doing this is because Michael has been on record himself to indicate that he had no intentions of touring for Thriller or otherwise. In Stuart Regan's 1984 book about Michael Jackson entitled Michael Jackson, Michael is quoted in the first few pages. This is something that I've read and I've had possession of. He was quoted in the first few pages from an interview that he was done touring after the Triumph album. Now, for context, Michael Jackson released his 1979 album, First with Quincy Jones, Off the Wall, in August of 1979 to overwhelming success during the Jackson's Destiny tour that continued well into 1980. In September of 1980, the Jacksons released their follow-up to their 1978 album, Destiny, Triumph.
Which, by the way, their best, in my opinion, their best album. By the way, me and Matt debate this all the time on the show. He's a Destiny guy. I'm a Triumph guy. We debated even as recent as last time on the podcast. I think back in March. I think it was April. When was it? I think it was in March actually. So it's a big debate.
Then they toured Triumph in the summer of 1981. In Stuart Regan's book, Michael had said that he was done touring once the Triumph tour was done. He was retiring from the road, irregardless of what his brothers wanted to do. He was done with long tours.
Yeah, this is true. I knew this. I knew back in 81. Well, not back in 81, but I knew he had said on record that he was done touring, and then did the tour for his brother in 84, and then of course, obviously in a world where Thriller happens and he becomes the biggest star in the world, and then you're doing your own thing. Something down the road, you're going to tour at some point for the Bad Tour in '87 through '89, which he did that tour, but then he even said in '89 that he was done touring. So he had on his mind as far back as 1981 that he didn't want to tour anymore.
In fact, there is video footage of an interview that Michael gave to KNXT Channel 2 News Los Angeles in 1981 that he actually says this on camera. The Jacksons are wrapping up the Triumph Tour with a 4-night run of shows in Los Angeles. In the interview, Michael states that after these 4 shows in Los Angeles in 1981, September, that he was going to quit going on the road.
Coming back to Los Angeles, a 4th date has been added. What's it like?
This might be it. This might be the last one.
There you go.
The last one.
Maybe, yeah. I think so.
So that states that he had no intention of touring beyond September of 1981, whether it was with his brothers or not. In fact, and this is important foreshadowing from what I'm about to say, they spoke early in the interview about the Can You Feel It music video that was just shot that preceded all of their concerts. In that, he talked about his intention of transitioning back into acting. For those of you who know, Michael's only significant role or lead role in the film was 1978's The Wiz, and he didn't do any more acting beyond a few cameos here and there. So he was eager to get back into acting. Take a look.
Eventually, I want to do films. That's my next big step, really. Not to just do what's been done, to try to perfect what's been done, really.
What kinds of things do you have in mind?
Real heavy drama.
Furthermore, in Michael Jackson's own autobiography, 1988's Moonwalk, he actually wrote that after he wrapped the Thriller campaign, which concluded with the shooting of the Thriller short film itself, his intentions were to start reading scripts and then contacting directors to start doing acting again in 1984. However, it was at that time that Michael's parents did go to him and say, look, we need you to do this victory tour, for your brothers. Could you please do this? And he reluctantly agreed. So yes, while Michael did not formally tour Thriller as a solo act, the Victory Tour still was the de facto tour for Thriller because of the fact that so many of the songs on the set list were Michael Jackson's solo songs and outnumbered the amount of Jackson/Jackson 5 songs that were on the set list. In fact, none of the songs from the Victory album, which is where the tour gets its name from, were performed on the Victory Tour because Michael would not rehearse those songs with his brothers, which only further elevated the solo material that he performed in those shows. So yes, technically there was not an official solo Michael Jackson tour for Thriller, but the Victory Tour in essence would have been anyway, because at that point, Michael was done performing any of his Motown material, so he was probably going to do a similar set list anyway. In fact, on the first tour of the Bad Tour in 1987, it was identical to the Victory Tour set list, the first leg of that tour, with the exception of the encore, the 3-song encore of Thriller, I Just Can't Stop Loving You, and Bad. But there you have it. Straight from Michael Jackson's mouth himself. He had no intention of doing a Thriller tour. He wanted to go back into acting, which unfortunately he never got to do. I hope this clears up any confusion for you.
No,
if Michael Jackson could have done, if you could have seen Michael Jackson do a dramatic film in the 1980s that was a popular film, let me know which one you think he would have fit in the comments.
Imagine a world that Michael Jackson didn't tour again after 81. You do Thriller. Okay, Victory Tour was a huge success. You want to do it. And then obviously, and because of the Thriller album being so big, it opened the door like, whoa, well, maybe I have to tour now. Because Michael Jackson in 1981 was still a big star, but he was not the icon he come to be until a year later. And then once you start, you have the biggest album of all time. Okay, now you're opening up another doors. Well, now I got to tour now because now I'm a big deal now outside the United States. Now I'm a big deal in every country, every corner of the world. So now I have to keep the music thing open. Victory Tour was done as a favor to the brothers. But then you do the Bad album, and of course you do the Bad album, you have to tour on the Bad album. So, and even after the Bad album, he said that he was done touring after '89, but then he still did it anyway. He said he did the Dangerous Tour '92 because of, he wanted to get a message to spread. But I always imagine a world what if Michael did not. What if Michael Jackson did actually stay and do movies? It's weird to think about that, right? Like a world where Michael Jackson just did movies and then released music when he wanted to. He'd be close to like a Will Smith than he would to or J-Lo, for example, artists who are music artists, but also did a lot of movies in those days and they balanced the world of music and movies and stuff. Can you imagine that? I always thought about that. What if Michael Jackson did not tour again and focus on movies and not listen to his family? Again, as big as he was, man, his family had a huge hole in him. His mom especially too. But do know that after the Victory Tour, he was out. So, great stuff by Matthew Allen there. I know it's a long. I don't typically play long videos on this segment, but Matthew Allen deserves that. Matthew Allen's a phenomenal journalist, music journalist. He's back in the game again. Love seeing him in here. He's on this podcast very often. He'll be on the show very soon again. Follow him on any podcast catcher. Not podcast. TikTok at Headphone Addict on TikTok. Phenomenal journalist. All right, let's get to the next video here. Here's an acapella of the Family Matters theme song. This is actually really awesome. That's great.
It's a rare condition this day and age to read any good news on the newspaper page. Love and tradition are the grand design. Some people say it's even harder to find. Ooh. Well, then there must be some magic clue inside these gentle walls. Cause all I see is a tower of dreams. Real love bursting out of every scene. As days go by, it's the bigger love of the family.
Amazing job by these guys. Phenomenal job. Family Matters, I was a big fan of growing up, and then I think the show went off the rails at that season 5, I think. But wow, what a acapella. Amazing. All right, speed up a little bit here. Some more videos. Here's Killer Kross, former WWE star Killer Kross, on the state of WWE today, which I believe is on Ariel Hawaii's podcast.
Sort of feeling of, I don't know if vindication is the right word, but let's be honest, I think a lot of people are a little bit down on the product right now. I repeatedly use the word soulless, others as well. I saw Bubba Ray Dudley on Busted Open saying that he's bored.
I just saw that.
Yeah, so I mean, like, it's a thing. Yeah. And as you mentioned, it's cyclical. The business is cyclical, so there's ups and downs. I think they'll figure it out. But, I feel like you were sort of a byproduct of all of that in the sense that, like, they had something that was really special with the two of you and didn't know how to actually utilize it and run with it. Do you feel any sort of indication like, look, maybe it wasn't me. It's really a sign of what's going on over there and what's not working?
That was the general consensus with everyone I spoke to at the time and still currently right now. I mean, there's new players involved behind the scenes, and I think the politest way I can put it, I think when you acquire something that is so lucrative, you automatically think that you understand it because it all reads logistically on paper like any business plan. TKO. But professional wrestling as a market and its fans are not like any other market on the planet. Yep. I mean, the audience is supposed to be a part of this. They're not.
How many times? Okay, again, this is someone in the industry. How many times have I said this on this show, on Falls Count Anywhere, on any podcast I do, that wrestling fans are not the same as a UFC, for example. Okay, they don't have the same deep pockets. They're very blue collar. Killer Kross is saying this exact same thing here too. Also, okay, this is why I've been very critical of TKO, and the reason why things are shitty in the WWE now, at least the perception is that way, is that for starters, okay, I don't think the product is as bad as they make it out to be here necessarily. The people are certainly not enjoying it. It is a little stale, yes, I agree, but people are more pissed off the fact that cost. Everything's about cost. Everything's expensive. Okay, ticket sales expensive. WrestleMania sales expensive. Now you fracture the entire your product now to like 17 different fucking streaming services now. That's why people are pissed off. On top of a product that's not doing its best creatively right now. I'm not saying it's doing bad, but it's at the top of its game. Certainly not since 2024. So you have all those things there. All those things make sense. Is why people feel like, well, you're not giving me a great product. You charge me up the ass to go to see a show. You pull a rug on me from WrestleMania in New Orleans last year out of nowhere. You fracture the entire W network into like fucking 15 different subscription services now. Netflix, CW, who knows what the hell. Of course I'd be pissed off. ESPN now, PLE's now $3 a month. Come on, bro. That's why things are bad in WWE now. That's why there's a perception about things are bad in WWE now.
I even said it, in the documentary that I just did, and I don't know how else to say it, but you don't want to treat the audience like they're background actors. Like if they're not cheering for the person that you want them to cheer for, you don't turn up, the volume, or boos, or this is awesome chant where it didn't land. You don't do that. Like when the audience likes something, let them like it. When they don't like something, let them dislike it. Don't alienate them. And, when they have something to say that they don't like, online, there's no need to say that your voices don't matter. And this is your consumer market. That doesn't necessarily mean that you have to treat them like consumers. And by the way, you are producing something for them. So if they don't like it, this is invaluable information. You don't have to say it doesn't matter. Now, not everyone's going to like what you produce. I understand that. And, Nick Nemeth and I were talking about this. There's such thing as toxic criticism. And so nobody cares for that. Doesn't matter who you are. But I think there's a better way to address all of this. And I don't necessarily think it's totally simple, but I think that it starts with, giving the crowd some validation.
Do you watch it?
If I'm home, yes.
You don't go out of your way?
Well, I don't come home to watch it because I'm usually working or training, right?
Sure.
So I'm almost never home. And that's not a bad thing. I like being busy. I like spending time with family. I got family all over the United States and Canada. But I do keep up with it. My friends, I follow all their performances. Of
course.
So.
Yeah, and again, this is coming from a guy in the industry. He's not bitter. People say, "Oh, well, he's bitter because he got fired, or at least from the company." Bro, stop. Bro, we can all see the markers. We can all see the things that they're doing wrong as a business. We can all see it. Don't be a homer to the because you're a WWE guy that everything is all peaches and cream. Stop. Okay, because even I've said that I've been boycotting WWE for the last year because of for the same reasons that he's bringing up here too. Also, not a great product, overcharging for tickets, fracturing the subscription services, of course. I get it. You got to make money, but I don't have to feed it. I can tell you guys, as a capitalist, you don't have to feed it. Once you push back, then they may make adjustments. Kross is always saying something that we all have been saying for the last couple of years now. Okay, so anyway, next video here. Wanda Sykes calls out her old friend Bill Maher. This was a good one.
He stopped me out in the parking lot. When we were not parking lot, we were waiting for our cars. And he's like, "What was that about?"
Bill Maher, you give us so much, but I would love a little less. Just try less.
And I was like, "It's a joke, Bill." He's like, "Well, it wasn't even a joke." I said, "Oh no, I heard laughter." It was clearly a joke.
Those are planned words.
Like, but I don't. But but still, it's not even a joke. It was just like I said. See, you're doing exactly what we said in the joke. We need less of this. You're epitomizing the joke. Less of this. He didn't care for it.
I think it's.
And he's like, "Well, I got it." People told me. I'm getting a lot of texts and people are saying, "What was that?" And like, it was a stupid joke. And when he says stupid, I was like, okay. Now you're gonna get it. I was like, well, I got a lot of texts telling me how great it was and how they don't like you, and it was really funny. I guess that's the problem. You're watching Fox News, and I'm over here on MSNBC. See? And then he asked me to be on this podcast. I was like, absolutely not.
Oh my God! Wow. And this all speaks of the problem about Bill Maher. And look, as you guys know, I have no problem with people talking about other people with diametrically opposed political views. I do it on this podcast. I consider myself over a left-leaning centrist, want to call that. But I do have a lot of friends who are also, some of my closest friends are also on the right. And we have Great conversations. We disagree a lot. We have great conversations, though. The issue with Maher is that he seems to be catering his audience more to the right now than to the left. So he's more critical of the left than usual. Even though he is still critical of Trump sometimes and still critical of the right, but the volume has gone significantly lower in the last couple of years with that criticism. And it's not to say that some of the things he says isn't accurate, because some things he does I do agree with, but he also comes off in general as a big snob. He also seems out of touch in general what's going on with the world today. That's it. And he also, from judging from this conversation with him on Wanda Sykes, he doesn't like to take criticism. He likes to dish it, but he sure as hell don't like taking it. And that's a problem. It's a problem. That's called narcissism, buddy. So Bill Maher, I do love his show. I don't care for the man. And to be honest, I never really care for the man, to be honest with you, but I love his show. His show is great because it has great conversation about the best part of his show, honestly, is the panel. He has great people on the panel, but that's it. So anyway, this is cool. My boys at 3CT debating Tom Hanks movies. Actually, here, check this out.
And let's just let our fate be our fate at this point, because we've already made
worked. It barely worked for the music one we did.
It worked so good for the music one
on accident.
So let us accidentally make it.
So they're talking about a game, which by the way, I'm gonna start doing a game with my wife on the Shared Space podcast we do in a couple of weeks. They do a game called Keep 3, Cut 5. Like you find a subject, find a type of topics in that subject, and they don't know what the incoming names or topics are going to be, and then you have to keep it. You vote on it, either keep it or to cut it. And they did an episode on Tom Hanks movies. But sure enough, I'm gonna do one with my wife in a few weeks on Tom Hanks movies as well too.
Work again. Cut.
Alrighty. So we have cut Philadelphia. We have cut A League of Their Own. We have cut Saving Private Ryan. We have cut Sleepless in Seattle. We have cut Castaway, and we are keeping Big.
We cut Sleepless in Seattle. My God, I love that movie. I love that movie.
Big. We are keeping Turner and Hooch.
Ooh.
Oh, that one sucks out loud.
And we
stop it, Ryan. It's not that bad. Shout out to Ryan, of course. It's not that bad. It's not his best movie, but it's not. I probably would have cut it too, to be honest with you. I don't remember the list they had out here for this, but I might have cut it too, but it doesn't suck out loud. Tom Hanks has a lot of fucking bangers, though, to be fair. So
we're keeping Splash.
Oh,
Splash.
So bad.
You fucked up real hard, guys.
You did.
You guys made big mistakes. I told you we should have kept.
Tell him, Mark.
No, you didn't. Oh, yeah, that.
I don't know
that wasn't our best work. That wasn't our best work.
You don't know what Splash is?
I don't think I've ever seen Splash.
Are you surprised by that though?
No, I'm not. It was featured in not another team movie, so fake fan.
I've never seen Splash before, to be honest with you. So
Splash was absolutely not parodied. Not
it wasn't.
Really?
I would love for Matt to have been able.
I was almost going to pull up my Not Another Teen Movie wiki just to confirm.
Fucking not.
No, I've never seen Splash before. I've never seen, but yeah, I'm gonna do an episode with that on Time X with my wife. By the way, shout out to my boys at 3CT, Big Jim, of course, Ryan, Mark, Big Tim, who was on the podcast recently talking about Metallica Load 3rd anniversary album episode we just did last week, and of course intern Mark, who made his first appearance on the podcast on here as well too, about 2 months ago. So, all right, next video here, next thing to react to. Let's talk about it here. Check out a fuck around and find out moment here.
When your black whore wife.
Oh, okay. Oh, really?
Don't worry.
Okay.
I got it. Okay, if you want to compare wives, Kevin.
There's no ring on it yet.
Okay, women. See, my queen is a natural pageant queen. She's a veteran, worked at the Pentagon and the White House.
And I published a book.
Boom. But your wife, you know what? Let me just give you a call.
Hello? Yeah, hi, I'm looking for Ryan Miller, Kevin Miller. That's me. Hey, how's it going, Kevin? Good. Yeah, I'm just calling you because you sent me a message to fuck my black whore wife, and then I'm a wigger.
Oh, whether I said it or not, it's irrelevant.
Clearly, you have no problem saying something like that to people.
Is it in this America? First Amendment speech.
Ah, First Amendment. Yeah. If I walk up to your wife and call her a bitch, you have every right to punch me in the face, right?
So you're going to threaten me?
No. This is not a threat.
It sounded like it, but go right
No.
ahead.
It's not a threat. It's a promise.
Land of the free, home of the brave.
My woman is a veteran who fought for this country, unlike your piece of shit ass.
Oh.
Yeah, America. Yeah, but you only like the white Americans, right?
Yeah, everything's racist, huh?
It's racist.
How do you know it's me? Just because you
because it's your goddamn profile on Facebook with your picture on it.
There you go, then.
Exactly.
I might have just been fucking around, I don't know your wife. I'm not a racist. I might have just been running my mouth. My wife's Mexican. All right?
I know she is.
You go right ahead and do what you need to do.
All right, so you have no sympathy whatsoever. So, okay, cool.
What do you mean? What do you mean I don't have any sympathy? What do you want, dude? What do you want, man? Okay, if you need an apology, look, I didn't mean to fucking put your wife down. All right?
Hey, man, too. Come on, bro.
On Facebook, no one ever fucking called me. Okay, so if that's what you want, sure. I didn't mean to say that about your wife. I'm sure she's a great woman. Okay, and I don't mean to be a racist to your wife. All right, if I said it, I do apologize. All right, I ain't trying to get all up in your business, and I'm not trying for you to get all up in my business. And dude, I'm not trying to be a hater on your wife or your life. I'm not. I'm really not. I'm just a hardworking dude. I don't know why I would have said what I said. Who knows? All right, but you probably have a great wife. My bad.
Yeah, I'm still gonna do the
Yeah.
video.
Yeah. So I feel two ways about this situation. Number one, I don't like the stuff like this as content, but I also do take satisfaction in people like that who do the shit they do, not thinking there'll be blowback for it, and then getting called out for it. You know what I'm saying? And then when they get called out, like, oh wait, I didn't mean that. But no, you don't mean it now because the source you went to do this at, said bet we're gonna contact you and put you out on Front Street. Oh, now it's serious now. Ain't fun when the rabbit got a gun, right? So, on one hand, it's like, yeah, I'm not a big fan of like creating content like this, but at the same time, it's like, I don't care. Like sometimes it takes, and look, I'm up for free speech. He can feel what he feels all he want, but doesn't mean that he's not absolved of consequences. This is a consequence that if someone you're going to attack online is going to, that they can also respond in a way and in some ways hurt you in your employment, whatever it may be. That's the way the cookie crumbles. That's called free speech in America. Watch what you say, because they may come back to haunt you. And I'll leave it at that. All right, next video. Here is, we got a lot more videos to go here, and I got to speed this up. All right, check out this video on the weird Metallica Lou Reed collaboration. This is going to be a two-part video coming here, okay?
When the biggest metal band on earth decides to completely sabotage their own reputation just to prove a point. Back in 2011, Metallica was riding high off the success of Death Magnetic, and fans were totally desperate for a return to that raw, old-school thrash vibe. And instead, they threw a massive curveball and teamed up with the alt-rock pioneer Lou Reed. The result of this collab was a record called Lulu. It was a double album consisting entirely of avant-garde spoken word poetry backed by these heavy, muddy Metallica riffs. Mainstream metal fans were pretty confused by all this, and it instantly sparked an endless wave of internet mockery. But here's the thing about it, over a decade later, there's still a tiny niche of people who fiercely defend this album and call it some misunderstood masterpiece. And I admit, it does have some kind of cool cinematic edge to it, but Metallica was not the only band taking these wild risks at exactly the same year. Over in the nu metal scene, Korn decided to completely upend their signature sound by handing their album over to a dubstep megastar. And that's exactly what I'm talking about in the next video. So follow along for part 2.
All right, so I will play in a second. I have that part 2 of the Korn video with what they did with the dubstep stuff. So here's what I'll say about Lulu with Metallica and Lou Reed. I love the riffs. There's some good, really cool riffs in that record. I actually played that album a few months ago for the first time since I heard it when it first came out in 2011. Look, I love Metallica. I'm a diehard fan. You guys already know this, but it's a hard listen. what I did do, there isn't a version of this album where, and I respect Lou Reed. I'm not a big fan of his music, but I do respect Lou Reed, what he's done. Rest in peace, by the way. But there was a version of this record on YouTube somewhere where they took out the vocals and left the riffs in there. A lot of times when I listen to this album, I listen to that version with this as an instrumental. It's a hard listen, bro. It's a weird. Look, I respect the fact Metallica had the balls to do this, and they've been doing this for years. They take a lot of like left turns to try new things, and as a musician, I get it, and I respect what they're doing. At the same time, some things just don't work, they don't fit, and I don't think this worked in the same way I thought it would. Oh, they thought it would rather. So, all right. So now here's part 2 of that video. Now he mentioned Korn, the collab they did with. I'll tell you now, it's Skrillex.
Metal purists absolutely lost their minds when a foundational new metal band handed their signature sound over to a dubstep producer. Back in 2011, Korn absolutely shocked the entire heavy music community, and instead of dropping their usual down-tuned, groove-heavy riffs, they decided to get together with some of the biggest electronic artists on the planet, most notably Skrillex, for that track Get Up. The result of all this was this aggressive fusion of these metal vocals and this crazy digital dubstep bass drops. And the old new metal heads immediately were screaming betrayal, saying that Korn had completely sold out to a mainstream electronic trend. But this is the thing that those gatekeepers missed. That massive sonic risk did not kill the band's career. On the contrary, it actually opened up the floodgates, introducing a whole new generation of electronic music fans to the world of heavy metal. And what that experimental era also did was pave the way for heavy artists to start completely crashing the mainstream pop charts. Years later, a massive rap pop icon put Ozzy Osbourne on a track, which led to a freaking hilarious internet war where younger fans genuinely thought Ozzy was a brand new artist. And that's exactly what I'm talking about in the next video. So hit follow for part 3.
Right.
Dude, so old school metal.
I don't have the part 3 of that. Maybe I'll find it for next week's show. I'm less bothered about this one though, because if you follow Korn's career, they've always tinkered with different sounds through the years. So in comparison to Metallica and Lou Reed and that weird collaboration, Korn and Skrillex makes more sense, actually. If you know Korn's music, what they've done through the years, it makes more sense, actually. Whether you like it or not, it's all conjecture and opinion, obviously. But I was never bothered about that, because they've always flirted with other sounds outside of the new metal. And furthermore, as someone who's a music fan in general, and I get it, a lot of heavy metal fans, no matter what age they are, they gatekeep the bands, the music, and all that stuff. You can't do that, bro. If you want these bands to grow, and you want these heavy metal or this genre to continue being relevant in a big way, you have to open the door for some of these little projects sometimes. Because when you do that, it opens more eyeballs for people to get into this kind of music. And that's what you ultimately want, is for people to get into this music and have a bigger pond of fans listening to metal. And I get it. There was a time for me where I was gatekeeper, But reality is, especially as a musician, and I can speak from both sides, as a fan and as a musician, you want to grow. You want to try new things. In a 30, 40-year career that Metallica and Korn both have, you want to keep writing Justice for All over and over again. You want to keep writing, the Blind Out, Issues album over and over again. You want to try something new. I get the desire for that, man. So I respect it, man. I do respect it. Whether you like it or not, I do respect it. So, all right, next video here. Gary V on returning to simplicity.
You posted a video recently on social media that I loved so much. And it's this woman coming up to you saying, I know one day I'm going to be somebody.
I know one day I'm going to be somebody.
Real quick. This is Chris Van Vliet, wrestling podcaster. So is Gary V a wrestling fan? I did not know this.
Please look at my face.
Please look at my face.
You're somebody now.
You're somebody now.
Why do you think that hits so hard?
It's something I believe in so much, and I believe it hits so hard because the world is really confused right now.
We have never been more materialistic. We have never been more status symbol. We have never been more how many followers you have, how much money you have, what things you have to justify who you are. We've never been more detached from simplicity, and I want to be a beacon of changing the conversation. I'm aware that I'm successful and things of that nature, but it's not my identity. It's not how I get my validation. I like being a good entrepreneur, but I don't think it's what makes me me. And, you know, it was a very simple interaction. She actually snuck out. It was really funny where that was filmed. It's what's fun about vlogging. I was giving a talk. I was just about to go in the car, and the bodyguards wanted to stop her. And I was like, no, let her come. And we had this moment, and I knew it when it happened because I felt it.
Yeah, dude. We are living in a world now where the people, like, we're at a crossroads where, like, you know, everything is so awkward. Everybody's confused, materialistic. Everything you said there is accurate. But there's a lot of people also who are desiring a more simple way of living. And in many ways, in many forms, like even myself now, who's now starting to get back to, let me give it a little, it's probably a poor example, but I'll use one here, for example. I'm starting to get back into older media again, physical media again, because while I do like the convenience of having Apple Music and subscription services and all that stuff, there's something beautiful about owning an album, owning a CD, reading a book, a physical book. Simple. You know, as a minimalist too, also, there's also that idea that less is more. We are so, like, bombarded with media, bombarded with news and information that we don't have a chance to really breathe and meditate. Like, we always have to have a dopamine hit, whether it's the cell phones or music. And look, I'm guilty of this too, also too. I am. But I see more people craving authenticity and simplicity now. And it's a good thing. So we're at a crossroads here, and hopefully more people lean towards the authenticity part as opposed to, you know, continued hitting dopamine over and over and over and over again. So good video there by Gary Vee. And I'm one of those folks who wants more authenticity. This podcast is not big. I have people follow this podcast. I make a little money on this podcast. I'd love to make more money on this podcast and more followers and stuff, but I don't care. You know, I do this show because I love doing it, not because I want to get famous. Would it be awesome to have I have more recognition in this podcast? Sure, absolutely. I would love to take that, but I'm not going to do it. I'm doing it for the right reasons. Doing it because I want to do it, not because I have to do it. I want to get famous. I want to do this because I love doing this medium. It's fun for me. It's as you guys know, it's therapy. I decided to go this route. This podcast. Talk about my family and include my kids in the show and my wife on the show because that's how I feel and that's what makes me happy. Ultimately, it's my family, my wife, my kids. You know, that's what makes me happy. That soothes my soul more than talking sports and movies and everything else in nature is have my family make sure they're okay. That's more important to me than anything else in the world. So, all right, next video. Got a couple more to go. We'll see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 more. We get through. We get through this. All right. Here's a good funny video. A video about what married couples actually fight about. I can relate to this one.
Married couples who don't deal with infidelity and lack of trust, what do y'all be arguing about?
Mommy and daddy are going out today.
Can you fix his clothes though? Because it's hard for me to
take
my
God, so true.
Can you fix his clothes?
Aries, I did that on purpose. This is the little stuff that we get into it about. If I change him and I leave the buttons unbuttoned, she gets upset.
Yep.
Just pull it down like this.
Can you just do that?
It just really bothers me that when I look at my baby, his clothes are not put on the proper way. Like, it's just giving laziness to me, and I just don't understand why he won't just fix his clothes. Like, it's 3 snaps.
Stop!
Can you at least put him on there with his clothes on right?
You don't walk around with your pants unzipped and hanging down. Like, fix his clothes.
I'm gonna just take it off. She doesn't like it, so she tells me what to do.
When you really think about it, you want to put our baby in all of these videos and always be on the camera, but his clothes are not right. Like, how does that make sense to put him out to the world and his clothes are not properly fixed?
Sometimes this is just left hanging, but we just at home. He good. Like, you don't gotta argue about that.
I can relate to this shit, bro. I can relate to so much. But you know what? I'd rather have these problems than infidelity problems and money problems and other emotional problems. If the worst fight you're going to get into is you're not dressing your kid properly or better, you're in a good place. I'll leave it at that. I can relate to that. So it's Merry life in a nutshell. All right, couple more videos we get out of here. Oh, Kevin Garnett shares an amazing story on Prince.
Hell yeah.
You play hoop with Prince?
Not to be on no Chappelle shit, so just slow the fuck
No, I'm
down.
saying like you was hooping, y'all was in the same gym shooting.
Nah, Lord, listen, real shit. You go to
Nah, because I hear he can hoop.
I'm talking like game 211, 1. Talking that shit, you better get up. And
He ain't doing all that. Come on. He like, what's happening? He like Prince on here. He got hands. He got handles.
Hands!
What you mean hands?
Man, you hear me? Hit you with a flurry of blows, brother. Straight up, and he in there talking that cold cash shit. He play out of his shirt. He in there looking like Prince. Hair going. I couldn't.
That's wild.
Man, then he had breakfast and everything.
Right.
Let me get out of here, bro.
We need to do an animation of this story right here.
Oh my god, the animation is amazing. I should be honest. You gotta watch. By the way, I tell you guys over and over. Like there's some shows obviously that are audio only. Like most of my solo shows now. The Man of the Week is audio only. Obviously stuff with my sons and my wife audio only. But this show is not audio only. And in fact, because most of these are videos, it would behoove you guys to check out the video version of this show. Obviously, if you listen on the audio side, there is a link on there on the YouTube page at Earnestly Pod. I encourage you guys to listen to the video side of this show. Watch it anyway because it's more context. But the animation here on this video with Kim and KG, it's hysterical. Watching Prince in heels and animation, that's hysterical. So, all right, couple more videos to get out of here. Well, 3 more to go, I think here. One more longer ones, I guess, right? Good video here on people taking life advice from social media influencers. This is a good one.
Getting rage baited into hating the opposite sex by people who have no business giving you advice and would change their tune in a second if they found the right person.
Oof.
And that's how you end up taking life advice that takes you down the wrong path.
Preach,
Real
Nicole.
life advice about relationships, about how to see the opposite sex, how much you trust, how open or closed you are to love from people who are figuring it out just like you, confused just like you. They're just doing it on camera with some feminist buzzwords and a monetization strategy. What works for one person will not always work for you. What resonates emotionally is not always the same as what's true. And someone being loud and confident doesn't mean they have any business telling you how to live.
You could apply that to everything, man. I have to tell you, I love Nicole. I'm so impressed with this. I was so impressed with this. Yeah, I mean, she actually goes on in that clip to say how like Cody Sanchez, some of like the most successful female content creators out there are married, happily married, like, and they're in relationships to say like, but what she really hit on in that video, I really like Nicole. I think she's got a great perspective on a lot of things. One of the things she hit on so perfectly there is the level of confidence with which people say things.
And confident, man.
Like loud and confident is not the same as right. And that is the problem with modern social media right now.
And going back to what I said earlier about simplicity and authenticity. There's a lot of people in this space who are grifting on this. Podcasting, content creating, short videos, maybe. There's some people who are authentic, obviously. There's people who are being real. I'll tell you what, I'm being real, obviously. But there are people out there who are grifting on this thing. Who say things and don't even mean it. And in many forms, in fitness, especially, there's that in fitness, there's that in money making, and there's that in minimalism too also, and is that in financial stuff, is that in religion, is that in sport, you name it. You have to sift out the authenticity. At the end of the day, you have to figure out, think for yourself as to, is this advice, number one, accurate? Number two, is it authentic? And that's the hard part here, trying to figure all that out. And then you have the AI part also on top of that. Oh my God, that's another bridge to figure out. So, but yeah, love the video. All right, 2 more to go. Let's have here. All right. Oh, here's a video on being a secure spouse, husband.
I married a man who is very secure because we just had a conversation that in retrospect, I'm like, I don't know if every couple could have this type of conversation. He's away right now. He's flying home tonight, but I took Frances to the beach and she and I went for a very long walk and I ended up chatting with a bunch of surfers and there were a bunch of dogs out. We ended up talking for a long time. Really nice. I'm never thinking like, oh, are these guys flirting with me? Sometimes you can tell when people are flirting. This was very friendly, really nice, whatever. I walked Francis back to the parking lot, and one of the guys was sort of walking behind me, and he came over and he's like, "Can I pet your dog?" And we ended up talking for a minute, and then I said goodbye, walked back to my car, and out of the corner of my eye, I could sort of see him very sweetly kind of like walking in a circle, almost like he was nervous or wanting to say something. And then I hear him go, "Wait, one sec." And whatever, he said, "Would it be okay if I gave you my number?" And I smiled and I said, "I'm sorry, I'm married, but I'm so flattered. Thank you for asking." And it was really sweet, and it made me feel really good. It was like a really lovely exchange. And I got in the car and I called my husband and I was telling him, I was checking in with him about his flight, but then I also was like, "You're never going to believe it. This really nice person just asked me out." And he's like, "How'd that make you feel?" I was like, "It made me feel really good." And he was like, "That's so funny. That's so great." And then we like moved right along. And I don't know, I feel really lucky that I could like have that interaction, let it be a nice human connection thing, and then tell my husband about it. And he's not like, "What? Someone asked you out?
So true.
We're not going back there," or like not pepper me with questions about how I responded. And when I asked him, I was like, do you think that was okay? When I said, "Do you think it was okay?" I wasn't asking Brian to like tell me that it was okay for the two of us. I was more like, do you think that was a nice way for me to respond? Right. He's like, "I think that was perfect." And that's just, I feel so grateful to my husband for that. We've been married for it'll be 6 years in September. Wow.
Yeah. Not to toot my own here, but I can relate to that in other ways. My wife gets a lot of compliments constantly, especially at her job. And she'll always tell me that X, Y, and Z person come at me about this, my nails, my this, I look pretty, but and how lucky your husband is. And I tell her, yeah, I'm cool. That's awesome. I don't get jealous about that. I think, and that takes a level of maturity and security to be okay with that. The reality is that people are going to make comments. People may not know she's married, and it takes a level of security and maturity to be be okay with that, and at the same time, trust with your spouse that she's not going to act on that because she got a compliment from some dude. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, I can relate to that 100%. It happens to my wife all the time. And because I am blessed, because actually for me, the way I look at it is that, oh, cool. So people are noticing something of value that I do have. That's amazing. I look at it as that, yes, I have that. I'm blessed to have that because you see the value, and yet I'm the one who's blessed enough to have the person who a value that you like or identified as value. That's the way I interpret that, actually. So I can relate to that, and I've had that many times over with my wife. All right, last video of the show today, but another good one, a little longer. Like I said, I'd like to get these shows closer to an hour, maybe a little bit less, but there's just so much things I see every week on the internet, things to react to that, we'll let it go where it can. So. All right, last one. Tony Reali, formerly of Around the Horn, reflecting on New York Knicks fandom.
Thought about when the Knicks won the championship? John Starks. Here's a real 1 minute. Nobody was realer than John Starks, the most Knicks guy ever. Almost never became a Knick. He was undrafted, CBA, World Basketball League, working at Safeway until he got a Knicks tryout, and in the tryout tried to dunk on Ewing, twisted up his knee, and because the Knicks couldn't cut him while he was hurt due to protocol, the injury that should have ended his tryout got him on the roster. And we all know what happened after. All those three-pointers. The dunk. Making an all-star team. The way he used to shimmy his feet to get behind the line. Should have been a walk, never was called. The Beastie Boys songs. The Tribe Called Quest songs. The heart of John Starks. There's a reason why you see so many Starks jerseys out in the masses of people celebrating this week. But that's not what I think about when I think of John Starks. I think about 2 for 18, Game 7, 1994 Finals. And I don't think about the misses. I think about what happened after, how something like that could just destroy somebody, and how he struggled to start the next season. And he couldn't figure out why. And what he did always stayed with me. He made himself watch the tape. He forced himself to sit with it. Because sometimes getting through something isn't about getting past it. It's about going through it. Winning has a funny way of changing our collective memories. When a championship comes decades later, fans love to say, "We forgive you, Bill Buckner. We forgive you, John Starks." I think sports fans had that backwards.
I agree.
Maybe we should be saying we're sorry and thank you. 30 years later, when the Knicks finally get that championship, first guy I'm thinking about, John Starks. A real one.
Yeah. Dude, I love Tony Allen. He's such a nice guy, bro. Just a nice human being, bro. You hear stories about him, and it's just such a nice guy. Yeah, John Starks, I did think about when they won, I thought about Starks and Ewing especially too. You guys know I was a Knicks fan, my number 2 team growing up as a kid, because when the Heat, before Pat Riley got to Miami, I was not Heat stunk. They were at best, mediocre team, but they never made past the first round of playoffs. And the Knicks were a title contender, and I was not a Michael Jordan guy back in the 90s, so I rooted for the Knicks to win championships. I love Patrick Ewing. Obviously, when the Knicks rivalry came up, that was a little bit difficult. Not difficult. I was a Heat fan, obviously, but I didn't get embedded in that whole rivalry in the same way. My dislike for the Knicks came after Ewing left because of the way they treated him, and of course, I don't like James Dolan. But I am, having said that, very happy for the New York Knicks fan base. Again, a lot of you guys are also fans of the Giants and fans of the Mets and fans of the Rangers, so we do share a lot of the common ground in the other leagues, And maybe the Knicks are back. Maybe the number 2 team again. Maybe they are. Maybe James Dolan just goes away and we don't think about it anymore. But I guess if Patrick Ewing could still be back in the fold, and John Starks back in the fold, and even Charles Oakley, who's at that Game 5 this week, could be back in the fold to some degree, maybe I should get over it, right? Maybe the Knicks should be my number 2 team again. Although I don't necessarily go by number 2 teams. Like, I guess the Dolphins are number 2 team in football, Panthers in hockey. But at the same time, I don't, I live down here, so it's a little different. I am born in New York, and I do have the connections in New York, but I don't know. I'm a massive Heat fan. Heat first, Heat only. So, and that will do it today's episode of EJ Loves the Internet. It is the 9th edition of the show. We'll be back next week. God willing, of course. I am on X at EJ Christian 7, Earnestly Pod across on YouTube, of course. Check out all the content there. And until the next episode, we will talk to you guys soon. Enjoy the rest of your week. Enjoy all the content coming down the pike. And we will talk to you guys soon. Later.